Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about the Butterfly Project, something that I've recently learned about through YouTube promotion. It is an initiative to discourage self-harming. Now to me, self-harming has always meant cutting, and I think to a lot of you it means the same. Now, I've never been a cutter, and it wasn't until about 3 months ago that I even really thought about the term self-harm, when my counsellor used it in order to describe some of my chronic pain coping mechanisms. So first of all, I'm just going to go into a little bit what the Butterfly Project is, and I've got some notes here, so do forgive me for looking down. Okay, the Butterfly Project is a set of 7 rules, which is supposed to keep you, or give you an incentive to stay focused on staying clean from cutting. So rule number 1. When you feel like you want to cut or mutilate, take a marker pen or a Sharpie and draw a butterfly on your hand or wherever you want to cut. Rule 2 is name the butterfly after a loved one or someone who really wants you to get better. Now, I'm told that this is really important. It can really build the incentive to stick to what you're doing. Rule 3, you must let the butterfly fade naturally. No scrubbing it off. Rule 4. If you cut before the butterfly fades naturally, you will have killed it. And if you view it as if you've killed a real butterfly, this is your incentive not to do it. Rule 5. If you've drawn more than one butterfly, cutting kills all of them. Rule 6. Another person can draw them on you, and these ones are extra special and need special care taken of them. And rule 7, even if you yourself don't cut, draw a butterfly to show support, or draw one for someone who you know who self-harms and name it after this person. Maybe tell them what you're doing, and it might be an extra incentive for them if they know you're thinking of them. Now, this project's gone a bit viral. Hashtag Butterfly Project on Twitter is widely used to discuss the topic of self-mutilation and self-harm, and for some people it's used as regularly as other people use hashtag Spoonie, and I can't begin to tell you how much having that as a search term helps with isolation. You just type it into Twitter and you get a load of you're immediately networked with people with chronic illnesses and disability, and it's a great tool to use on Twitter. What I want to do now is I want to extend this a bit. Now, what is self-harm? Now, as I said, until 3 months ago, I always thought of self-harm as cutting. Now, I want you to think about whether or not you're a self-harmer as a chronic pain patient or as a chronic illness patient. Could self-harming be applied to more than just cutting? Now, I don't have a full-blown eating disorder. I have been an overeater, and I have been considerably heavier than I am now. I think when you lose weight, you have a certain amount of natural, non-psychotic body dysmorphia. You will always kind of see yourself as a bit bigger than you are, because you have actually been bigger. And if you've seen endless photos of yourself in that state, it kind of becomes who you are. So I do use food as a way to exercise control in my life, because I feel that my pain takes away a lot of my control. So I do use diets and eating restrictions to demonstrate that I'm in control of something. Now, I have it under control. I know what weight I like being. I know how to maintain that weight, and I also know when I'm going too far. And after a time last year, I now know that I can't be less than 8 stone 2 because I just look crap. So that's my absolute lowest limit that I now allow myself to get down to when I need to exercise that control. So, do you limit what you eat? Or do you binge eat to make yourself feel better? Do you sometimes eat too much and then feel guilty about it and have a little purge, vomit? Now, correct me if I'm, I don't want to say correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been corrected on this before. I always thought that when you're a teenager, you have a go. Bulimia is a normal phase that you go through. Everyone does it once. Well, I've been told that that's not the case, but for me, it was just a phase. And occasionally, I do it when my pain is so much that I feel so sick that I want to empty my stomach. I don't think this counts as self-harm. Now, my counsellor does. So there are lots of different ways that you could consider the term self-harm, and it's a lot more than than cutting. So those are some things to think of that are quite common in people with chronic illness. Now, my counsellor also refers to some of my chronic pain management as a form of self-harm. If you use ice packs regularly, and you use them for longer than 20 minutes, you're at risk of getting ice burns. Now, at times, I deliberately put ice packs directly against my skin for much longer than 20 minutes in order to distract me. Now, you've got to understand that this is at points of desperation, that this is not a regular habit. This isn't like burning yourself with a cigarette because you like it. That sounds, that's quite a common thing that people do in the bedroom, apparently. I wouldn't know. I do burn myself with ice packs quite a lot, but that's because I have quite a lot of surface neuropathic pain in my back, so sometimes I just numb it. Similarly, some people get into baths that are far too hot for them in order to give themselves a different sensation to think about, to grab their attention. Now, this is something that I don't do because I don't really like heat. The other flip side of ice is the increase in tension. Now, everyone knows that your pain gets worse when you're tense, but I find actually that sleeping on ice does more good than bad in terms of tension, through the fact I feel it does kind of numb me up a bit. But my therapist doesn't agree. So, if you know someone who is a cutter, consider the Butterfly Project. Even if it's just something to think about. I'm going to put a link to the video that raised my awareness to the Butterfly Project in the description at the bottom. If you don't feel I've explained myself very well, then watch that because it's really, really good. And maybe through watching this you have not only learnt about the Butterfly Initiative, but also considered whether you yourself are a self-harmer in a non-traditional way, and whether maybe you need to rethink your methods of exercising control. It wasn't really until addressing this initiative that I did start thinking about everything I do that isn't a very healthy way to deal with my pain. And the whole point of counselling is that it's supposed to help you address a different point of view, work through logically your thoughts that can seem a bit disordered in your mind. And the fact we're talking about it means surely it can only be a positive thing. Now, I've been sitting up now for about half an hour, so I'm going to go back to bed. But just think about it. I've drawn my butterfly here underneath my tattoo. Just a really simple, it's a 3, a backwards 3 with a line in the middle. No one needs to know what it's about. If you think it really applies to someone, then spread the awareness. But don't feel that it's an obligation, otherwise it's a rubbish incentive, isn't it? It's a rubbish initiative, if it's something that you feel embarrassed to do. I will talk to you soon, and think about the way you deal with your pain.